I am in the practice right now of looking for ways to add pleasure. So my inclination is to keep being productive. And I am always looking for little moments of like, if I'm going to take a break here, how can I make this the most pleasurable moment? Or how can I plan for pleasure at some point during the day? And centering pleasure feels really liberating to me.
This is Rebel Therapist, a podcast for entrepreneurs who are trained as therapists and who want to level up their businesses, make a bigger impact, feel fulfilled, and be very well paid. I'm your host, Annie Schusler. This week, I'm talking to Hillary Kinavey, co-founder of Be Nourished. They offer programs for people looking to reclaim body trust. She's a leader in this movement, working from the principles of health at every size and intuitive eating. We've been talking a lot lately about the stages of a rebel business. I did a two-parter in February on the stages you go through from creating your pilot offer to actually thriving as a business. You're about to hear from someone who really values the long game. Hilary and her co-founder have always paid attention to that long game because body trust is something they care so deeply about. So they don't want to make some money and then get out. They've been setting things up along the way in order to stay in this for several decades. They've been building this for 15 years, and they're still looking way ahead. They're paying attention to where this movement is going and what kind of impact they want to have. They're also paying attention to how they need to take care of themselves so that they can stay in it for the long haul. As you're listening to this episode, think about what would sustain you in your business for the long haul. What kind of support do you need? What kinds of people do you need to spend time with? What kinds of self-care practices do you need to invest time and money in? And what do you need to say no to in order to say yes to what really matters to you? All right, let's jump in with Hilary. Welcome, Hilary. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks so much for having me.
So you are the co-founder of Be Nourished, and with your co-founder, Dana. So you've been working together for 15 years.
Yeah, we have.
I wonder if we could start there for a minute.
Sure.
How did that develop? And how did you know that you wanted to start working together? And then how did you know you wanted to keep working together?
Oh, yeah. Well, let's see. Dana and I met about, 16 years ago, I guess. And we were both asked to bring our private practices to this clinic in Portland. And as we got to know each other when we moved to that clinic, she was one of the first providers I had found that was asking the same questions I was asking about how we were talking to people about weight and body image and health. And I think we both joined that clinic hoping that conversation would also be happening in that clinic, but it actually took a different turn and we couldn't stay and the clinic imploded. And so the gift we got from that upheaval of our businesses was each other. And we needed to quickly move and decided that we would share a tagline, not necessarily a business at the time, and be in practice kind of in tandem with each other. And we came up with the name Be Nourished. It was available as a domain name. It's like, we want this to be more magical. This is how these things happen. And we started working together. And what we've always done together is sit in groups of people and have these conversations about our bodies and about this idea of health and the social construct of health and about eating and disordered eating and dieting and how all of this has become such a big part of so many people's lives. And it is in these circles that over the years, Dana and I developed our body trust approach. We were also greatly informed by the Health at Every Size movement and the fat acceptance movement. Those are our teachers. That's who we work in service to. And I think we work together still because we love each other and we're friends. And then we've also made this thing. And from this thing being body trust. And from this thing, we've also made this amazing community of body trust providers. And we really are dedicated to body trust becoming an option, not only for the people of the world, but also for the eating disorder treatment community and for providers. And we're really dedicated to that happening. And we see this as a long game. And we do a lot we are constantly questioning what will allow us to continue in this movement work and in this service work, for the next 20 to 40 years. So
I want to get into some of the different ways that you're helping people in your business. You've got a lot of offers at this point. So I know you've got the Body Trust e-course and the Reclaiming Body Trust retreat for individuals, and then for professional, and I know like everybody's an individual, so it's a funny way of putting it. But then for professionals, you have Freeing the Body Narrative, a 2-day training, and then you have the Body Trust Provider Certification Training Program, which is like a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
So what came first in your offerings?
The first thing that came was in-person groups, and we aren't doing those anymore because our schedules have changed so much and we're not able to be that consistent. But that's what came first. And next came, we moved that group, parts of that group online, and created No More Waiting, the Body Trust course, because we wanted people to have access to this work as a healing modality. And we see moving towards body liberation and letting go of dieting and disordered eating as a healing process. And so we wanted that to be available. So that's a 6-week e-course. And
is that, okay, so I want to stop there for a second, because this is a place where so many people who I work with is this place of like, how do I turn my first offering into something that's a little bit more pulled back, like where I'm less in it day to day. And so you started in person, and I'm imagining from that you really got a sense of what was most important and what people needed, and how you could turn it into something a little bit more pulled back. Is that right?
Yeah, we offered in-person groups for 7 or 8 or 9 years before we took our business online and created the online offering. And so we really got to watch how this transformational process moves through most people. And so when it came time to create the e-course, we had a very clear idea of what concepts would really lay a foundation and help people dip their toe into this process, and which ones might be distracting. And so that 6-week e-course, it was updated last year, but it's been very much the same the whole time. Conceptually, we made better videos and, made some better, inserted our social justice awakening has been, all during this time since we wrote No More Waiting the first time. So we shifted a lot of language in the course last year to be more inclusive, but it's been the same ever since. And after that, we were wanting to still be in circles with people. So we started offering retreats. And what happened, interestingly, is that mostly other healthcare providers and therapists and dietitians wanted to come. And we didn't expect that. We didn't see that coming exactly. So we started moving in the direction of offering more groups for providers at first, and retreats, and then developed an e-course for them, and then made the certification program, because we saw that there was a lot of mythology in the field that was getting in the way of providers being able to do their own healing work. And in the realm of health at every size and body trust and fat acceptance, most providers are learning alongside their clients, and that's fine. And most of us are healing we might be doing our healing work while we're offering therapeutic work, and that's also fine. And so, but we wanted to create some holding spaces where providers could learn about this and not take the 10 years we took to learn about it, and learn the language and we could talk about the mistakes we made along the way and share those. And folks could also kind of explore their own relationship to their body at the same time as providers. And that's been kind of the heart of the Body Trust Provider certification program.
Interesting. So it really came from people basically asking for it, people showing up.
It was needed.
Yeah. They were already using your services in this way, and then you adjusted to give them more of that. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was amazing. We, when we did it for the first time, we're about to start our 8th cohort. But the first cohort, I mean, we didn't know if anyone was really going to sign up for this thing or show up. And what happened was far greater and more incredible than I don't think we could have imagined in terms of the depth of relationship and connection that's come from these cohorts learning together.
Yeah. How did you decide what the first certification would look like?
We thought about the certifications we each held and had gone through, and kind of took what we liked and didn't like and created something that felt meaningful. We knew we had a lot of information to share, and we knew we wanted it to be as accessible as possible to people, but we also knew we were going to be sharing our branding and our messaging and our life's work with people we certify. And we wanted, this work can be really nuanced. People can kind of do HAES halfway or not really with a totally liberatory frame. And we wanted to know everyone. And so we still meet in person for the first week of the certification program, which has created some barriers for some people. But it was this blend of both knowing we had a lot to impart, but we really wanted to be in relationship and know people and know who was going to bringing this work into the world.
Does that match up with the way that you and Dana kind of enjoy interacting with people?
Yes, I can't imagine this being an only online program based on what lights me up. It may need to be for other reasons at some point, or partially. But Dana and I are facilitators. We are connectors, we're space holders. And if I'm not doing that, I don't know how I would honestly feel about my work. So I would need a place for that always.
Yeah. Well, that's really good that it matches up with kind of how you want your brand to be carried forward. Yeah.
Yep. And it's always been, this business has been built with the intention of taking care of us as human beings as much as possible. Yeah.
All right. I'm busting in real quick with a message from our sponsor, which is me. So if you're ready to get yourself moving with creating your signature program beyond the therapy room, it's time to sign up for Create Your Program. It's a 5-week experience. You're going to work with me and a small group of motivated people to create your pilot program. Think about this. Wouldn't you love to work with me and a small group of therapists and healers to focus on something that really matters to you? And wouldn't it be great to shorten your learning curve and avoid some of the mistakes and the rabbit holes you'd likely spend a lot of time on? I would love to have you. This happens online over 5 weeks. You've got 4 one-hour sessions with homework in between each session. And then in week 5, we meet for 4 hours to celebrate your accomplishments and support you in getting your offer out there to the people who need it. We start on March 25th, 2020, so it's time to register now. Go over to rebeltherapist.me/create. This is the last time I'm offering this at the price it's at now, and it is an amazing deal. I'm not offering it again until the fall of 2020, and like I said, it's going to go up in price then. It's still going to be worth a lot more than I'll be charging, so please don't stress out about missing out. I just want you to know in case you want to make sure you get the lowest price you can. So just head over to rebeltherapist.me/create. Now let's get back to Hillary. What were your biggest fears or concerns about creating a certification program?
I had a lot of imposter syndrome about it. It's like, oh, you just get to make up a certification program and start it. Turns out you do. There was a lot of fear that I initially had fears I wouldn't train folks well enough and that they would do harm in the name of body trust work. And there was just a fear that I don't know enough. I guess it's all kind of impostery in a way, and so it's been just a learning curve to know that what I know and what I have is enough, and that I don't need to know more than other folks to hold this process for people coming through. But those were probably my biggest fears. And then just like, would our investment pay off? That's always that entrepreneurial dilemma of creating things before you know that they're going to take care of you anyway.
Absolutely. And an in-person event is a bigger investment up front.
Yeah. Yes. I don't think, in full disclosure, I think this kind of transparency is important. Dana and I didn't really start getting paid like a regular salary from the business until the last year.
Oh, okay.
I mean, we took money here and there, when we'd have an offering and those kinds of things, but a reliable monthly income has been a little, it would come and go depending on, whether we needed a new website and the employees we were investing in or those kinds of things, which is totally entrepreneurial startup kind of thing. But I think it's also important to know because there's a lot of smoke and mirrors out there around online business and how that looks for people.
There absolutely is. And so that also, I'm really glad that you're making that salary now. That's so fantastic and important. Yeah. And it really says like that you were looking at the long game.
Yeah. It's always been about the long game, which has always meant then that we have had side hustles. And it's funny to call private practice a side hustle because it takes up a lot of space and time and it's, such hard work, but we've always both done that on the side, or Dana trains in motivational interviewing also. Okay.
And when you price your certification program, I'm thinking, with what you've just said, and what I was saying about like an in-person event is expensive. How have you done the pricing for your certification program? How have you decided on that? And has that changed over the years?
The pricing we looked at a lot of other offerings out there, both in the like eating psychology realm and also in terms of other professional certifications. And we also just honestly looked at what does our business need to support this program? What does our business need to make in order to support this program, which is the most important way I think we've looked at it, because we need at least 2 to 3 employees for our business to work.
Full time?
I guess right now we're at 2 full-time, the equivalent of 2 full-time employees, but it's split between 3 people. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we could use more, a little bit more support than we have right now. And so, we're looking at like, if we're running the certification program twice a year, what does that mean in terms of salaries for our employees? What is what's our monthly overhead as a business? And then, what's the dream in terms of Dana and I getting paid at some point?
Yeah. And so what are the roles what's the stuff that those employees are doing? What roles would you say they're filling?
They manage all of the incoming communications. They manage, our website and our e-commerce. They create future events for us. We do there's a lot of communication that goes on with people who are interested in our work. So there's just a need for one of our employees mostly just responds to email. We have a separate bookkeeper, but they're keeping track of financial matters. They're doing PR kinds of things for us or setting up interviews, and they're planning our travel. It's remarkable how much detail there is and how much there to do. They're planning the events of the retreats or the certification program.
Yeah. And so that allows you and Dana to spend more of your time doing what's most important, which I'm imagining is like creating creating your content and serving people directly. And then I'm also imagining doing things like this, like being out there.
Yeah, my primary roles for Be Nourished are creating content, editing, proofreading, thinking of future content, and then doing things like this. And then I have a private practice.
I'm curious. So how come you're doing proofreading?
We don't have someone doing that right now. And a lot of it is about our languaging on things because we're always evolving the model. We're always Dana and I are always looking for some congruency in that. So we both like to know what we're saying to the world.
Yes, that makes sense. That totally makes sense. Yeah. So now you've got PR going on. What are the main ways that you find that you're growing your audience right now, that new people are finding you?
I think Instagram is big for us, and Facebook has always been somewhere people found us. I think our body trust providers bring a lot of attention to the body trust model, and so that brings people to us also. I think that the eating disorder treatment community is looking for answers for how to do work in a more trauma-informed, social justice-informed way, and I think people turn to us for some of that. I also think we've just been doing this for so long that we're kind of a part of the foundation of some of the movement, and feel bold to say that because I think about all my teachers, the shoulders I'm standing on. But and I think that people turn to us to see how we're doing things a lot.
And how has that changed from how you used to build your audience? Like in the very beginning, how were people finding you?
Before in the very beginning, there wasn't even Facebook yet. There was an Instagram. I think the website was kind of optional. Like we had one, but it wasn't the biggest thing in the world. So I remember lots of paper. I remember lots of bringing things around town. I think I built my practice initially on Craigslist.
Oh.
Yeah. And that worked out really great, actually. But I think we were word of mouth. I think we relied a lot more on the medical model and how healthcare providers communicate with one another and refer to one another was probably a bigger part of our business at the time. I think it looked more traditionally embedded in the eating disorder treatment world at the time than it is now, even though we're a part of that. So I think it was all just a little bit more mainstream, traditional ways of referring to one another.
That's interesting because it is combined with the fact that the technology was so different then. Because I think of when I started my coaching business, which was more like 10 years ago, the beginning was really through listservs, which I know that's still going on. There's still some really active listservs in the Bay Area, but it was just such a more local kind of method at that time. And then combined with the fact that, well, I shouldn't say fact, my opinion, that in the beginning of a business, I think it's about those one-on-one relationships and leaning into people who already know you, who already trust you. And then, like you said, now you're in a position where, when we first got on the call, I said, I feel like I already know you because you've had this presence for so long. As you're moving forward, what are you most excited about when you look ahead, in this decade, let's say?
Mm-hmm. I am most excited about our body trust providers and what they're creating in the world. Creating this training program and running this training program is kind of a big part of what I do now. And I am so excited for what they're able to dream up and think up and what they're able to create for communities that I can't necessarily reach. It wouldn't necessarily be appropriate for me to be doing any work in. I'm excited for the ways they're going to see this that I've never seen this, or the directions they can take it in. So I really want to be in a support position for that. Dana and I are working on a book proposal, so I'm gearing myself up to write a book about this and kind of communicate about it in that way. And I'm excited about making that. And I think I'm excited because this movement is changing. We've gone from 15 years ago where there was very limited conversations happening, and they're mostly happening in communities that necessarily weren't talking to each other yet. And now we've got this kind of global movement happening and things are changing. I think that we're moving in a direction I think there's kind of a natural trajectory people move through as they're coming into this movement. And I think a lot of people are in a messy middle space right now. And once everyone kind of gets a little further along, we are really going to be able to make some big changes, both in healthcare and in the way we look at eating disorders and eating disorder treatment. And I think Dana and I, and this is something she says more than I do, but are really eager to turn our attention towards humanizing healthcare and having more conversations about that and being more involved. And that was feeling like a strong pull for both of us.
What are you excited about that's happening tomorrow as this releases?
I know we have made this thing that we're so proud of. The Body Trust Summit is starting tomorrow, March 11th. And it is, I think, almost 30 interviews. It's all free. You can sign up on our website to be a part of it. It's a week long. Every day there's 4 or 5 interviews you can watch with these amazing thought leaders and space holders that are talking about body liberation and healing and what it truly means to try to inhabit our bodies in a world that has been very oppressive to bodies. And I hope you will join us there. I'm really excited about sharing all these conversations with the world.
Yeah. Do you want to give just an example or two of folks you're interviewing?
Yeah, we've interviewed Sonia Renee Taylor and Mackenzie Mack, Isabel Faith Abbott, Desiree Attaway, and Erica Hines did an interview together. Caleb Luna, San Chang, a long list.
Oh, so exciting.
Yeah, it's great. It's really great.
So people should just head over. That link will also be in the show notes if you need it. But people should just head over because it's starting tomorrow. So that's really perfect.
Yeah, it's great timing. Just jump in.
Yeah. Let's see. One thing, I know we got to go, but one thing I want to ask you before we say goodbye, because people just love to know about this stuff, including me, is there anything about time management that, how you spend your days, how you spend your mornings, anything that stands out to you that you've learned to, help you keep moving forward?
I am in the practice right now of looking for ways to add pleasure. So my inclination is to keep being productive. And I am always looking for little moments of if I'm going to take a break here, how can I make this the most pleasurable moment? Or how can I plan for pleasure at some point during the day? And centering pleasure feels really liberating to me. So not just making it about self-care in the ways we talk about self-care, but making it really celebratory and fun and really for me. I want the little bits of time I have to take for myself right now to really feel intentional and for me.
Is there one you can think of that's been really nurturing lately?
Let's see. If I am going to go for a walk around the block, I'm going to bring my dog instead of walking as fast as I can. She's older. And I'm going to make sure that I walk in the direction of my favorite tree or, look for something that's blooming. If I'm going to make myself a snack, I'm going to try to sit down. I'm going to add a little embellishment to it. I'm going to give it some time. If I'm with my kids, I'm really just trying to be with my kids because they're always fun and they're good at reminding me of how to have fun.
Mm-hmm.
There doesn't always have to be music on, but there always could be music on. It's just those kinds of little bits. I light candles all over the house just to kind of give me little reminders of my aliveness.
Okay. Love it. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Thank you for joining me, Hillary. This is fantastic. I hope everybody's going to check out that summit and sign up.
Yeah, I hope so too. It's a great way to learn about body trust and learn from some really incredible people.
All right. Thank you. Have an awesome time at the summit.
Thank you so much.
You can find out more about Hilary and Be Nourished by going to benourished.org. Thanks to Cosmo Palms for editing this episode and to Brianne Rising for taking care of our guest. The show notes, if you need them, are at rebeltherapist.me/podcast. Please give me a rating on Apple Podcasts so more fabulous, rebellious healers and therapists can find us. And thank you so much for listening. I'll see you next time.